Oh, Rich is already here. I don't know, man. I think Tim and William used to fight to be first on the feed, and now I think Rich is our front runner here.
I mean, listen. Yes.
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 We're gonna have to get like a trophy, and you can only keep your trophy as long as you're consistently the first one on, and when you're not anymore, you have to do the mailing of shame and send that trophy on to the next person.
Yeah. It's like, who's going to be the next first person in line?
The Skillz show antelope.
Yep.
Maybe we'll send a set of VIP backstage passes. You could party in the green room with us. Because it doesn't start on time. That means you have extra time to get here.
And he just got here. Yeah.
So the curious thing is, because of the software that we use, we actually start like right on time, and then it has to compress the different feeds, and then it sends it to Facebook, who recompresses the feeds and then puts it out to the page. So there's actually a few minute delay on, I guess, when we start and when you guys get it. And it's interesting because it's never the same. I've tried to compensate for it before, and sometimes we end up a minute early, sometimes 5 minutes late. It's just, I don't know. I don't know enough about the tech yet.
Well, I mean, again, due to the Wi-Fi processing and all that stuff, and like you said, the rendering, it does take a minute. And I always have, like, as we're talking, you and I are live, right? And then we've got our systems right here in front of us to make sure that we're up. And I turn it down because I get confused of what we're talking about and what these two guys are talking about. It's never the same.
Yeah, that's why sometimes when you guys ask questions and we're moving on to another topic, we'll go back because we don't even see the questions until a couple minutes later. So,
absolutely.
Anyway, there's your free backstage pass right there. Gives you the insight into our side of things. So we're going to change our normal spiel a little bit today. Normally we talk about ways for you to improve, ways for you to teach kids better, ways for you to raise your rates and get the value in your business, from your business as an owner, taking care of employees. And usually it's on the result side that we talk. But we've had some interesting conversations. For the Gold Lifetime members, on Monday, we had our executive session where we talked about raising price point. And one of the side discussions that came off of that is, anytime you raise a price point, of course, you have to raise value. And we all know this. We hear this. It's not just John and I saying this. This is, almost to the point of cliche now. And then we've also had, both John and I have had conversations over the past few days with people who are really legitimately struggling. Look, a lot of you are reopening now, and that doesn't mean things are back to normal. It's going to be months or years until many of us are able to recover. And a lot of people are starting to, I guess, hit that emotional point of no return where they're starting to make hard decisions about closing their schools. Two of my good friends closed their schools Sunday. Both of them have been in martial arts for 30 to 60 years. One of them's had their school for 50 years. The other one, only had the school for about a decade, but has been in the martial arts as a competitor and an instructor for many, many years. And they just couldn't do it anymore. So between that and then seeing people start to talk about, well, I need to cut back on my marketing. I need to cut back on my memberships. I need to cut back on my coaching. I need to cut back on everything. We're seeing a lot of fear-based decisions. Now, some of them are legitimate, but we want to make sure that what we do today is to delve into this cliche that is raise value, and actually talk about some ways that we can. We know Melody talks about being relentlessly on offense when things are tough. We're going to be relentlessly on offense by providing so much value that people can't help but continue their memberships, and people can't help but enroll in our school versus other activities, even in the face of all the craziness that is back to school right now. John, are you guys back to school, or today is your first day?
Today is our first day, and guys, that was one of the reasons why we were late. I'll take the blame for it. You know, I normally don't open up the studio. We've got the team that does, but you know, I'm going to open up this week because there's a lot of technical difficulties that we're facing with the studio, not the studio, I'm sorry, with the online concept of things. Like everybody's griping right now because the systems are crashing and everything. So,
and this is not online learning for martial arts. You're doing like an e-camp where you're helping with the school.
Yes, yes, we're doing digital camp where we're helping with the school, providing a digital learning space.
Yeah, you got to be careful how you talk about that, right?
Exactly. Providing a digital learning space for our parents. And listen, the struggle is real. The struggle is not, we decided to do this show because we want to let everybody know that, listen, you're not alone out there. You're not struggling. You're not by yourself struggling. I'm going to be honest with you. Jennifer and I are struggling. Okay? We are struggling. We're struggling because we're not where we were back in January. We're not where we were back at this point last year. You know what I mean? We've lost a lot, and it's up to us to keep grinding and to keep pushing forward and to let the negativity out of the picture. And I'm going to be honest with you too. Jennifer is keeping me on task. Jennifer is keeping me on my feet. Okay. Because as the, let me just go down the list here because I know a lot of you relate with this. As the father, the husband, one of the providers in the house, you take that on your shoulders and you feel like, what we're going to do, this is, been our livelihood for the last 20 years, blah, 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 this and that, right? That does affect you when you're seeing, major school owners, I'm going to say high ranking black belts, legends in the community, they're losing their studios and they've shut their doors, right? Like Turney, right? Did I say his last name right? He's right next to you, isn't it?
Somebody closed that I don't know
about. No, isn't it Trini? I can't say his last name right. He's had his studio for since the 60s, and I'll think of his name correctly. But those guys that you follow for a long time, as big shots in the martial art world, and when you see them closing their doors, you're like, whoa, this is deep. This is really deep, right? So we're doing everything that we can to keep things, keep things going, keep grinding no matter what.
Great community. Thanks, Randy.
Yes.
By the way, how cool is it that Randy Reed is watching? Thank you for joining us today.
Right.
So let's talk about, we can very easily see these examples of things going wrong. And, it's not that these people weren't good in business or they weren't amazing instructors. I mean, in some cases, sure. But, times are crazy. And it's really easy as we are more and more isolated, for us to really focus on that. I spoke with somebody the other day, just a friend of mine, and they're like, man, it's like every week I'm dropping 2 students, and that's all I see, that it's dropping 2 students every single week, and it's killing me. And I said, well, what's your normal attrition rate? Well, normally I lose about 15 students a month, and then we do that. I said, so actually, your attrition rate is lower than normal. You're just focused on it because it's the only metric you're seeing. It's maybe not as easy to get those new people in. So you're seeing this metric that's actually doing better, not to say that it's good, because it still does have to average out, but it's changing our perspective on things a little bit. And when we can break this hyper vigilance on all the things going wrong, it lets us, we spoke a couple of weeks ago about kind of freeing up that mind space a little bit so you can get back to being creative. Creativity is what's going to keep your business going right now. So we probably don't want to sink thousands of dollars into new programs if you don't already have it available, or you don't already have a well-formed plan to go forward. I'm not going to go out and, create a new building and launch a whole new business. And I mean, there are people doing that, but they've got their act together. I'm not going to do that. It's like having a baby to try to save a relationship.
Yep.
If the relationship's good, having that baby is going to make it better. If the relationship's bad, it's going to be bad for 3 people now. So let's talk about some ways that we can increase our value to the community, so that they have more options to use us. Now, you mentioned right from the beginning that you're running an e-learning camp. So the pain point here for the community is that some communities are virtual only or hybrid, where for some days the kids have to be home. Not all jobs are virtual or hybrid, and parents have to go to work, or they have to work from home, and it's just not feasible.
Absolutely.
High-level meetings when maybe they only have one device or their internet connection is slow.
Yep.
So that's a pain point in the community. The pain point in our business then is, how do I add on another 6 or 7 hours of, oh my God, now I need extra staff. I need extra cleaning. I have to do extra marketing, which means extra budget. My people are going to burn out. So there's a pain point for us too that we have to now overcome. You can't just ignore it. So what are some of the things that you did, maybe without getting into your proprietary process of how you're learning, but what are some of the
proprietary
things you did to make it not just a commodity? Because I see a lot of people are saying, "Oh, drop your kids off and we'll watch them." What are you doing to really make this super valuable?
So one, don't just price it at a very low price point because everybody else in the community is doing that. So for example, one kid for us is almost 2 kids at another studio. Okay. And you're going to have people that will sign up with you if you deliver the message correctly. Okay. Number 2, do what you say. Okay. And make sure that they trust what you're saying. So first of all, offer them for them to come in and tour the facility. Show them what it's going to look like. Okay. So like for us, because we've got the multiple studios, I don't have to really do a lot of work, right? Because we've got a room that's already set up. But we've got the tables out, we've got the chairs out. So when they come in to do the tour, they can see the social distancing. I did a video this morning that proves social distancing. Some kids are wearing masks. Some kids are not wearing masks. We're leaving that up to the parents. But we're not doing it as a martial art studio. Okay, we're providing it as a child development facility. Okay, we're talking to them about why they want to use us. We're talking to them about the team members who's going to be watching the children and how smart they are. Okay, not just hiring somebody in college or and I'm not saying that don't hire people in college, because we're hiring people in college.
Sure.
But they're brainiacs. They're those people that look at things and boom, figure it out, versus like, oh, let me dig around.
Yeah, so you're not really hiring, as if you're the local water park and you need a ticket taker.
No.
That anybody can fill that role. You're looking for the right people.
So here is the thing. We were struggling about 2-3 weeks ago with the concept that Georgia After School Program was going to provide digital learning. Their digital learning was $125 a week. Okay. Of course, we're like, we can't beat that. Of course, it's, Parks and Recreation concept. It's kind of like the YMCA or the Boys and Girls Club, right?
But is that run through the local government?
It is. It's running through the local government.
Subsidized by tax dollars and everything else. So it probably really costs far more than that. It's just other people are paying for
it. Yeah, exactly. Come to find out, like 2 weeks ago, the biggest thing is we signed up with this program, blah, 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 but they shut their doors. Well, because the higher up realized that this digital learning thing, based on the number of people that signed up, they could not meet it. Okay, because who do they hire? High school kids to watch the children. Number two, they hire people who may have, I don't want to sound negative, okay, but they're not hiring the right people to be in the right seats on your bus, right? So they shut it down because for what they're charging and the number of people that signed up, they could not meet those numbers. You know what I mean? They're not going to be able to provide the kids with the digital learning concept. The whole point behind their program was we're going to watch the kids throughout the whole day. They're not going to help them with the e-learning. And what did we face this morning in the past 4 hours of the first day? There was a struggle. There was a struggle with technology. Things were not laid out properly. You've got the schedule in place, but they may not have math today. So we're trying to figure out how to get into the math class that doesn't even exist, right? So when you're putting out your e-learning program, make sure you have it systemized. That's number one. Number two, make sure that the team members are ready for it. Number three, make sure the parents are comfortable with what you're going to do. And also let the parents know. And this is what we did yesterday. We sent an email out saying, hey, parents, we're going to struggle just as much as you are. So please allow us time to learn the system just like you are learning the system. I mean,
yeah, even the school systems that are putting these things out are still learning the system, just like we all did back in March.
You have, like, my phone is buzzing right now because Gwinnett County public school system is constantly sending notifications out. And they've probably sent out 15 notifications just like while we're talking right now. Because this one is crashing, this one is crashing, this one is crashing. But that's okay. You know what I mean?
So in a sense, this lets us be leaders in the community because the martial arts community, when, back in like March is when most of us closed, we pivoted almost instantly.
Yes.
The next day we had our cell phones like taped with some electrical stripe tape to one of the heavy bags. And, we pivoted almost instantly and then took the next month or so to really step up our game and make it professional. We went through all these challenges. We went through the challenges when Zoom was having problems because they were trying to meet demands and their servers were crashing.
Yep.
Most school districts, as soon as the Zoom bombing thing happened, dropped that sort of learning and went back to, here's a YouTube video, here's a packet, here's just a video conference call one-on-one. I know some school districts had the resources to do more, but so many of them did this ad hoc, kind of just cobbled something together.
Yep.
And only now that this is mandated as their learning environment are they going back and having to work out all the kinks and all the bugs as we did. So we get to now provide value not only to the parents by saying, don't worry, we got this. We've been here, we've done that, and we know how to help. But also, and this one's going to be a little bit more on your relationship with the school district, but you can now be a resource for them saying, hey, I'm hosting this camp. We've been doing this for a little while now. Why don't you try this?
Yep.
And maybe making those inroads. We always talk about like, what are the back doors into the school districts? And we always talk about like, the PTA and then the parents groups. Talk to the local IT guy. He's not going to tell you anything proprietary about their systems, for security purposes, but talk to the local IT guy and say, look, man, this is the challenge we had too. This is how we solved it. And now your IT guy might spread that out through the school district and say, hey, teachers, here's a tip we got.
Yep. And at the same time, don't bite off more than you can chew. So there are martial arts schools around us. I see it all over Facebook. Oh my God, they've signed up 50 e-learning kids, for the camp. Let's just think about it. 50 e-learning kids. First of all, do you have enough social distancing? Okay. Do you have enough people, social distancing space? Do you have enough people that's going to meet, all these demands? And, what you're going to realize is, like, for what you're charging and what you're paying out is a lot more, right? For us, we're looking at about 10 to 15 people, okay? 10 to 15 kids. It's a little bit of a higher price point, right? But when you do the math, say you're charging $200 a week, right? And say you've got 10 kids. 10 kids, that's probably one person, really, when you think about it. Okay, manageable, maybe a person and a half, or two people. It's a win-win situation at the end of the week. You know what I mean? You're still profiting
Yeah.
enough.
I'd rather for something like this be a little staff heavy, because I see a lot of people are also winging this. As Skillz schools, you'll very rarely see John and I wing something. Not to say we don't sometimes, because sometimes you have to, but very rarely. So I see a lot of people that are just like, oh yeah, I've got 1,500 square feet of martial arts school that can't be open in New York right now, so I'm going to run this e-learning camp. Now you've got one karate instructor, some teenage kid running it. What happens when one of those kids has to go to the bathroom? Who's helping with that toileting issue? Or what happens when you have to go to the bathroom? Who's watching those kids? We never want to create something where we are alone with the kids or where we have to leave the kids alone. So you have to make sure you're well thought out and use that in your marketing. Here's what happens, just like most common objections in sales. Here's how we're running it. Here's what happens when your students have to go to the bathroom. Here's our process for this. The same way we did with our cleaning processes when COVID hit and we all wanted to highlight that. That shows value as well. My partner has a degree in education. So, we're just getting our stuff from the school districts now and trying to filter out what it all means. Even within a district, we've got like 20 schools per district. Every school has something different within a district. But if we do decide to do this e-learning format, I get to say, well, I didn't just hire one of my teenage instructors. I have an educator who's going to be at least overseeing. Maybe you don't want to hire, especially in New York where teachers make $100,000 a year. I can't afford to hire 20 of those, but I can hire one to oversee what's going on. So I know that you guys have some fairly protected terms with this, and we do in New York as well. So, for example, we're not allowed to say that we're going to help with schoolwork or help with homework. And I know that is one of the pain points that parents have. My student, based on what they saw from the last month or two of school, most students, or let me just say many students, not all, many students struggled with the e-learning format. You've got a little cell phone propped in front of you, it keeps falling over. It's hard to learn.
Yep.
How are you addressing the parents' concerns that somebody's going to be there to help them if maybe we're not allowed to explicitly say, we're going to help your kid? You have to be very careful with this, right?
First of all, because we are state regulated, we are always getting the updates from the state in terms of what we can and cannot do. So if you're not state regulated or you have no idea what's happening or what the news are, dig deep, right? But for us, because we're open as an e-learning studio, based on the latest protocol that we have, is we can assist them and we can help them, even though technically per Georgia law, we're not supposed to say homework. We're not supposed to say that we're going to help them. However, they also say if a child asks for help, go ahead and help them. And it's kind of like backwards, right?
Yeah, which I get, and that's what we do as well. I won't advertise that I'm helping with homework because that's not how we're organized. But if a child asks for help, I'm helping the child.
Yeah,
I'm helping with the homework. I'm helping the child at that point. And maybe it's semantics, but while we chose to organize our school in a way that is not state regulated, we very well could go get the child care facility or the daycare facility or even preschool because of Heidi's degree. We could do a preschool. We chose not to. That said, we make sure that we do follow all the guidelines as if. That's the value add. And we make sure that we are also educating all of our potential clients in our community that these are the steps we're taking. We'll let it drop that we don't have to, because I don't want one of those snoopers in my neighborhood that just thinks any open business should be called into the state, and then I have to deal with that inspection.
I'm glad you brought that up, because there's a lot of places around here who is opening up for e-learning, just because they're taking advantage of the situation and they're doing whatever. Now, one can easily pick up the phone and report them, right? But I think we're at a point right now that everybody's feeling the pain from from the state in itself. They're realizing that these parents have to work, these parents need a place for their kids to be, and instead of just only allowing the daycares to do such thing, because even daycares right now can't do such thing because they're busy with their morning care. You know what I mean? They're busy with their infants and all that stuff. So they need more pods to open up to be able to service families like this. And as long as you do it mindfully and tactfully, cleanly, safe, right? And just keep it around 10. If your space is big enough, like Michael, for you, I bet you can probably fit 10 to 15 kids on the surrounding perimeter of your studio, right? And you can still service your families, and you can still be able to make enough. I said enough. I'm not saying a get rich, thing, but enough to pay your rent at the end of the month.
Sure. And this is just one idea.
Yep.
It's one that's pretty popular right now. And I know I saw in the Century group, I believe Maya actually has a 3-day class you can take about how to set it all up. I believe Dwayne Spires has something for this as well. I could be mistaken. I don't want to make any promises on their behalf. But, these are people who are already in the industry and leaders, and they're putting together things that are going to help raise your value instead of just trying to fumble your way through it. So,
and I'm going to be honest with you, because when we started out this show, we said don't spend more money than you really have to, right? Jennifer and I have been running the summer camp after school program solely without coaching from somebody else. Like, we started the after school program, and I don't mean this in a bad way, okay? Before, Dwayne Spires came out, before Jem, what's his name, out of Florida, I can't remember his name, when he came out with
the great with names today, man.
There is a lot on my mind right now, bro. He launched the after school thing between Georgia and Florida, right? We started the after school program back in the early 2000s, right? The only thing that we did was educated ourselves based on what the city, the county needs, wants, and what the rules are. That's all you really need to start with. Not necessarily on how you're going to bring those people in the door, because if you're good bringing people in the door, okay, just do a little bit of homework. Go out there and Google it. For us, it's known as Bright from the Start, Georgia Bright from the Start. And you look them up, you go on there. What does it need to be licensed? What do you need to be license exempt? What are the rules and regulations with it? Okay. That's what you really need to do on your own. And depending on when the school system starts in your area, you can get it done, know it within a week. If this is your focus, research it for a week and advertise it for the next 2 weeks. Okay.
So this is right in line with, when we talk about becoming a child development expert, it's not just that you sign up for Skillz and that makes you a child development expert. It's not even just that you take the Skillz University courses. It's, today we're talking about like relentlessly adding value to our programs. You have to relentlessly add knowledge to your area of expertise. So if you're going to jump into this, it's not enough just to know how to skirt the rules or how to get open. You have to become the expert. We're open because of this. We provide this service because of this. Yes. We are different from that school because of this. You have to be able to, if not quote them from memory, you have to at least know where to go find it, because somebody might question you. Not necessarily like in a bad way to shut you down, but if you get a knowledgeable parent who's maybe a teacher looking for some place for their child to be because they do have to go into work,
yeah,
they might ask you, and they might be up on their own industry's regulations. And if you can answer, that's a value add.
Here's the thing: how many of you have parents in your studio that did, childcare, pre-K, or were teachers, and now they had to quit their jobs because they don't know what to do with their kids? I did 4 coaching calls since Monday, and the pain point has been the same. Okay, and each one of them practically said, "Yeah, I just got an email today that, and this is why we're doing this show about people quitting." Okay, parents are having to quit their jobs so they can stay home with their kids because they can't do both. And I was like, "Dude, what does that mom do?" And he was like, "Well, she's a teacher." I was like, "Bro, what is the matter with you?" I was like, "Take that opportunity, pick up the phone, call her, and say, hey, I understand you quit your job because you have to stay home to do e-learning with your children. Could you possibly help me out by starting an e-learning program at the studio? And all we're going to have is 10 kids. All we're going to charge is $200 a week, right? That's $2,000 a week. I will pay you $600 to $800 a week. And because I got to pay rent and I got to pay my overhead, I have to keep $1,200. Right now,
so this is a value add, not just to the community, but to a family that's a member of your school.
yep.
And we want to foster that long term with especially our antelopes, or
Yeah, so
creating our antelopes.
you didn't just take the quitting concept as a quitting concept. You took the quitting concept and you turned it around for you to, I'm not going to use the word profit off of, but let's face it, we're going to profit off of it. But at the same time, I'm telling her, I'm not going to charge you for your children's training. You can bring them to the e-learning. You will be responsible for the e-learning classroom, but I'm going to be there all day long in the office doing my work. So if you need my support, I'll be there. But if you feel like we might need to hire, somebody else, we can possibly swing it. But in either case, Michael, if you're charging 200, right, and you're having to spend 1,000 on overhead, whether it's payroll or whatever, and you're keeping 1,000, are you still not profiting at this
Especially
moment?
if you're not the one doing the work.
Yep.
This
Or
entrepreneurship, right? I don't want to trade my time for money because I only have so much time. Yesterday,
but
saw my post. Yesterday was my day off. I worked
yep.
9:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. on my day off,
Yeah.
and that's my regular day off schedule.
But then let's just say, for the sake of the argument, you're still charging what you're charging. You're making 2,000 a week, but you're spending about 1,300, and you're still pocketing, six to 700 a week. Are you still not profiting?
Yeah, and again,
I mean,
still just on the first idea.
Yeah, and simply because at this moment, it's extra money that's coming in your studio that you're not making right now per week. This is 600 per week. At the end of the month, you're practically, say, just for the sake of the argument, you're making around 2,500 a month. Maybe your rent is $4,000, but now you're making 2,500 just from the more. Yeah, well, me too. I wish. Okay, but you're still making extra money.
Yeah. So you bring up a good point. A few weeks ago, we did the whole idea of like the strength switch, like looking at
Yes.
its challenges and actually seeing how it's not a challenge. It's something wonderful that just hasn't unfolded yet. So John and I have even had some conversations lately where like we'll talk to a Skillz member. They'll say, oh, we're really struggling. And, if this goes on for another couple of weeks, we're going to have to drop our Skillz membership. And so that is the same thing that John just said. So you took somebody that was going to quit. Our goal is to strength switch that. Instead of saying, and you could relate this to your members as well, right? And instead of saying, oh my God, there's somebody else that's getting ready to quit. No, it's okay, this is good. Because here's somebody else that trusts me enough to come talk to me about a challenge that they're having, which gives me the opportunity to help provide a solution. So, it's no secret the costs of Skillz memberships. If we talk about a gold membership, it's $399 a month for now. The rates will probably go up next year, but for now, $399. It's not a small chunk of change, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not all that much. So when you look at, just for round number sake, $400 a month, and you're like, man, my school is really struggling. $400 a month looks really good in my pocket right now instead of over in Skillz. So the conversation for me becomes, okay, so what you're doing is taking something that is very valuable in your school, and you're taking away your ability to use it. And then you are creating how many hours of work for you to recreate what your program is, retrain what your team is, re-educate your membership and your community as to what you do, and try to stem the attrition that comes from having change, because change always brings up churn. It's not always a bad thing, but there is churn. Anytime you change something, dude, you could change from this color pink to like fuchsia, and there's going to be somebody in your school that's like, that's it. That's the thing that makes me quit. They were already going to quit, but that's the thing. So to try to save $400, you created yourself thousands of dollars of labor costs, plus however many students you lose from it. My conversation goes to, okay, so what can we do to leverage what you already have to make an additional $800 per month? Because you shouldn't just be paying for something and breaking even on it. You should be paying for something, getting some return on investment. So, that may be a price raise, and right now might not be the best time to raise your prices, depending on what's happening in your area. We at Skillz decided that raising our prices this year, even though it was on the schedule, it's not the right time. So we pushed it off till next year. Though for some people, they're raising prices every few months, and seeing what's happening. So it goes back to, what are the extra things that you can do or have somebody do? Because like I said, you don't always have the extra hours, but you can find somebody and hand them off a system and say, run with this.
Okay, you know what?
Value.
You said we may not have the extra hours. Question is, are we digging deep enough to see if we do have the extra hours or not having the extra hours? Because I hear that all the time, and I'm like, oh, well, run me through a quick scenario of your day.
That is a good point. And you have to be careful. And this is why accountability partners and coaches are so important. I know when I look at my day, it's pretty full. I've recently opened up some time by delegating some stuff, but it is legitimately pretty full. And the question becomes, if I trade this hour of my time, is the return going to be equal to what I need to make as a business owner?
Yep.
So I need to make between $50 and $100 an hour for me to feel like it was worth my time. If it's making less than that, I delegate it to an employee who makes $17 an hour, and I still charge $50. So it's like, where does it fall? If I can have 10 employees making $10 an hour but making me $1,000, that's good. If it's something that I have to do to make $20 an hour, that's not good.
Yep. Speaking of that, there's two things, or two bullet points that you guys could also add to in your studio. One is, I would really like to challenge most of you, and I know I went on this rant last year. I don't know if you remember or not, but how some of us, and everybody's different. Don't get me wrong, right? But those that wake up around, like, because they have their own studio, those that wake up around 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay. If you're grinding overnight and you're getting up that late, fine. But if you're able to kick it in gear, first of all, from a health perspective, this is where the health coaching would come in for you guys. From a health perspective, if you're not in bed between 11 and 5 a.m., okay, and if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like what I'm having to say, that's fine, but do your research. If you're not in bed between 11 and 5 a.m. and getting that sleep within that window, you're not doing your body justice. Okay, your body is going to be jacked up, and it's never going to be in the place that it needs to be. Okay, it's not going to work right, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note there that we have this hustle mentality in America, and a lot of people get by saying, I'm up till 2 a.m. and I'm up at 3 a.m. every single day, and if you're not doing that, you're failing.
No.
Don't vilify sleep.
No.
Sleep is important, and some people legitimately need 8 hours or 9 hours even of sleep. It's just your circadian rhythm. It's, what do you do while you're awake? that's
Yes.
important. And knowing what is your sleep pattern. Like I know that I need about 7 hours of sleep per night. There are days when I need a little more. There are days when I function on a little less, but 7 is a good average for me. So in the
But
beginning,
if you
when I was
need,
trying to hustle, and I was getting like 5 hours of sleep, I was actually being less effective than getting the 7 that I need.
exactly, but if you need a little bit more sleep on certain days, schedule it in. Like, for example, you said your Tuesdays is your day off. So even though you might have been hustling yesterday for 12 hours, that could be the day that instead of waking up at 5 a.m., you can wake up at 7 a.m. Okay. What I'm trying to say is this: you get up at 5 a.m., you can hustle it from 5 to 9 because nobody is around you, nobody is bugging you, there's no phone calls. That's 4 hours. Okay. At the end of the year, okay, that's almost 2 weeks worth of work that you've done just by scheduling your time of waking up earlier. Okay. That's number one. Number
Hashtag block schedule.
hashtag block schedule. Yes. At the same time, if you need to add more programs in your studio, that's a perfect time to research those programs to add to your studio. So right now, and this is mind blowing, some people say, why are you still doing this? Because I'm still profiting. Okay. So Michael, as we all know, this is not the time to be running mini Skillz program, right? And if people are running mini Skillz program and they're not that successful with it, that's great. I'm really proud of the fact that you're still doing it because we're still running our program. We ran our mini Skillz program with one kid for 4 months right now. Since the pandemic, it's been one kid. Okay. Our mini Skillz program is literally $65 a month. Okay. For 30 minutes once a week. Okay. You guys do the math. That's $17 that we're making for the 30 minutes. Okay. I know you're not paying your team member $35 an hour for them to come in and teach that program. If you are, dude, hats off to you. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But right now, with that $65 a month, at the end of the month, I'm still profiting 50% of that. Right. So are you running mini Skillz? Can you still run mini Skillz? Okay. And you don't have to charge a lot. Just charge a small amount. Yes, you're going all that work and I have to hire a person and blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to make like $100 at the end of the month. Do you have that $100 in your pocket right now?
So look, mini Skillz is a great one. It is not a huge money maker for sure. But here's the thing. You can run mini Skillz every single day of the week.
Absolutely.
You can run mini Skillz 6 sessions per day.
Yes.
Your school would otherwise be closed.
Yes.
You can have one kid in each class and
Yes.
still have it be profitable.
Yes.
And then when those kids turn 3, they just move right over into your group early skills or whatever your program is. And now you've got somebody that's already tried, just itching to pay you more money. Mm-hmm. This is marathon game stuff. And right now, hardly anybody is doing something for that age group. People are starting to pick up on the 3 and 4-year-old age group, which 5 years ago nobody was doing. Nobody's doing mini Skillz. We're not doing it well, except mini Skillz.
And right now, places like Gymboree or those toddler places, they're having to limit their spots because they can't have as many people anymore, right? Hello, Skillz program has mini Skillz already planned out for you, laid out for you. All you have to do is get it and teach it. That's it. I mean, and at the same time, if you look at things as this much versus the fact that this much is valuable to you, that's just depending on your mindset. So again, at the end, I've had it where I've talked to people and they said, John, I don't know if it's worth it. I mean, all the way at the end of the month, I'm only making $100, $150. Michael, are you making that $100 or $150 right now?
So
no.
I'm going to pull out my calculator. I'm going to tell you exactly what a mini Skillz student is worth to me. Hold on. So I'm charging 59, 12 plus, right now the average student times 167. A mini Skillz student is generally worth $5,718 to me. Because on average, at $59 a month, they're with the mini Skillz program for a year on average. This is based on my stats. Yours might be different. And then after that, the average mini Skillz student stays with me for about 2.5 years.
Yep.
Once they enter my regular program. So at 167 a month times 30 months, you add that all together, $5,718. So I'm talking marathon game.
Yes.
With mini Skillz stuff. So aside from programs that are in our school, obviously we can always add programs or tweak programs or add camps. We're used to this. Sometimes you just have to be told and it sparks the, oh yeah, I can do that. And that's great. So let's talk about some of the, in this last quarter of the program here, some of the soft skills we've developed that we can really use to provide value. Now, I don't necessarily want to talk about what we can charge for it, because that's where we always talk about price points and how to make money. All I want to talk about is how do we raise the community's perception of what we're worth in the community, that we're a valuable part of the community, right? So if you guys want to charge for this stuff, go for it. To me, it's just about maintaining my I guess prestige within the community that I am worth coming to spend money on in the first place. So we talked about how we were some of the first innovators getting into the e-learning platform like this. We also, especially those of you that are Skillz schools, have access to a tremendous amount of teaching knowledge. So we have teaching skills, we have laws of instruction, we have learning about stages of development, that sort of stuff. We can leverage this to provide value to teachers who are now fumbling their way through e-learning. By the way, there was a big thing in New York bragging about the federal government gave, I think it was $179 billion for helping teachers convert to e-learning. And when you do the math for how many teachers are taking the workshop and taking this, that means that every teacher that registered got one single 2-hour workshop. They're not being well prepared. I mean, they're giving the basics, but you guys know what we went through. So now picture this. Picture a weekly set of tips that you send out. Maybe you can create a new email list for teachers or homeschool pods or homeschool parents, or even parents that are going to be working from home. Maybe it's a new email list. Maybe it's a new Facebook group. Maybe it's a new YouTube or Instagram channel, right? Whatever your medium. Weekly tips on ways to support your child through this e-learning. And it can talk about, hey, our big challenge when we jumped into e-learning was making sure that the kids could hear us clearly. Here's how we solved it. Maybe you want to get a new microphone. Maybe it's realizing that when you do get new microphones, you're going to need these little adapters that interface instead of from the professional microphone equipment to your phone or laptop. So it could be a set of tech tips that you learned. The next week it could be making sure that if you're going to have two people on the screen, like you'll very often see me adjust a little bit my screen, that I want to make sure that John and I have our faces evenly matched and in the screen, because if I'm like this and John's like that, it's a little distracting. That's a tip. It takes me 2 seconds to do a video on it. Sending out this set of knowledge base to these people who are now the curators of our youth education is going to be very helpful for them. Keeps you in their front of mind awareness. I recently did a blog post where I took, it was towards the end of the school year last year, I guess, where I took the 8 teaching skills and rewrote them as 8 teaching tips for parents now that you are the homeschoolers, to help them better interact with their kids, because there was so much frustration. I re-leveraged that as a set of, anytime I do a blog post where it's like an 8 set of something, or when Jen does the blog post that has like 4 sets of tips, well, guess what? Each one of those 8, each one of those 4 becomes a bit of separate content on social. And all these things are going to provide value. Now, can you charge for them? Can you charge for something like Parent Skills? You could. Would I? Right now, probably not. Because what I want is for people to keep paying me on my regular programs, or to start paying me on my regular programs. I want to be the value provider beyond that.
I'm glad you brought up this point, because the other day I was talking to one member, and I think I shared the information with you through Messenger, because a lot of times when you guys are asking us for help, we have our initial respond, right? Like, this is the way we're thinking. But then when you share it with your partner in crime, then it helps, leveling out the proper way to answer the question. And it's not just a one view. It's like, 2-3 eyes seeing everything. I asked the question is, how many Facebook groups are you in? And they're like, just one, one for my, parent skills for our studio. And I'm like, are you not in any garage sale businesses, any of the Facebook groups that's in your city, in your county, in your district? Like, I just looked. I belong to 153 groups. I mean, I'm probably going to say a third of them are martial art groups. A good number of them are just like educational groups that, I like to get daily stuff out of. And the other third is just our locals here, right? And I'm in them. And every single time we do a blog, every single time we do a post, every single time we have something, we're dropping it in there. We're not selling. We're dropping knowledge. Even when it came down to the digital learning, I did not say we're selling the digital learning. I just said what we're providing and why we're providing it. Okay. Simply because when they constantly see your face and they constantly see that you're posting, they're going to go to it. And the number of likes, the number of comments, the number of shares that we get out of it is really good. Okay. Constantly providing content on a regular basis, that's great. And then my next question to that person was, are you nurturing your leads properly? Well, I'm probably doing it like, once every 2 weeks, maybe once a month. They got to get the information. So as you post it on Facebook, do it as an email to your leads. And if there's small paragraphs or something, they constantly see your face or see your name or know who you are, simply by providing that valued information that you should be doing or giving out.
So being in all those groups and not selling is also important. It's an important point. I just had a conversation in a local networking group, business networking group for my county, where somebody said, this group seems more like just a sales page. And we got into a really good discussion about what it means to network in a group. And most people join all these parents groups, and what do? I join the group, here's my pitch. Well, no, you have to go in there and provide value. That's what we're talking about today, right? Value. So first, you watch. Then you interact. Then maybe you talk to the group admin and say, hey, do you mind if I run an 8-week series? No selling, here's what it is. And then you say, hey, do you mind if I just, on my last one, put a little call to action, just low key, if somebody wants to take it? So you're providing value in that group. The next question is, how many groups are you curating, right? So there are a bunch of parents groups and sports groups and all those other things. How many are you curating? You should have probably a bullying one, a parents group, a parent skills group. If you're going to run with the teaching concept idea, helping parents and teachers be better teachers, that would be a separate outlet. Maybe that might not be a group per se, although you could do it if you want to take the time to lead those conversations. But I have half a dozen Instagram accounts, and not all of them get daily stuff. One of them is my personal one. I have one for the school. I have one for a little side thing that I do that's semi-related to the school. We do one for like parenting, but they all lead back to the same spot. Only the one for the school is really a sales outlet. The other ones are just, especially on Instagram, here's value, here's content, here's things to help you. Pinterest, the same way. Here's things that are going to help you. YouTube, the same way. Here's things that you can learn, things that are going to help you. And guess what? Every single one of those has a link back to my main site. For more, click here. And then they go to maybe a blog post on my main site that relates to that stuff. Because what I want to be doing is targeting each niche of people that I want to interact with and showing them that I am an expert, that I am very giving of my expertise, that they are, that they should spend their time on me, and that I have more to offer. That's what our value is doing. So when we start looking at our own business things, I know we're coming up on time here, and making those decisions about, do I drop a membership? Do I close my doors for now or forever? Do I scale back my marketing? The answer to that is always no. Do I scale back my investments? The question that I would love to see is, how do I make myself valuable enough that more people want to come give me money so that I can continue doing what I do, right? And when you can start answering that question, I think you guys are going to have a much better forward movement. And just to be completely transparent, from January, which is usually a really good month for us, January, we had our first month of a net loss of 2 students. February, which is when people started talking about coronavirus a little bit more, or in January we already were. We're in New York, so we got hit hard and fast. February, we had a net loss, I think, of 5 or 6 students. March, we were in the teens net loss. April, double digits net loss. May, double digits net loss. Like it was relentless net loss. This month, because we've been relentlessly on offense, we went, all right, so if I go back a month, last month, the curve flattened out on the bottom. All right, we talk about flattening the curve on top. We flattened the curve on the bottom. Last month, we had a net loss of 2. This month, well, what are we on? Like the 13th or something today?
Yep.
I already have a net gain of 2. Now, normally that would be crap numbers. Crap. But if you consider where we were a few months ago, we flattened the curve. And you don't flatten the curve through passivity. You flatten the curve through actively trying to climb. As the landslide is happening, or the avalanche is happening, trying to crush you, you don't let it crush you. You keep swimming, trying to keep yourself to the top, so that when the avalanche stops, you end up in a spot where you can stand back up and move back forward. We already have 12 more appointments on the books for this week. Even if I have a horrible close rate, that means that my net is now going to be aiming at double-digit positive net for the first time in months. And 3/4 of my business is closed. I'm functioning off of 1/4 of my programs right now. So sometimes we can look, like we go back to the very beginning of our conversation, you look at, oh my God, I lost 2 more. Oh my God, I lost 2 more. Okay, but keep climbing. Keep moving forward, keep being even more valuable. Even though your momentum is still not showing, you keep building it so that when you hit the ground like a Tigger, what do Tigers do? They bounce, right? So you got your downward momentum, you're fighting, I'm ready to bounce. So this month, I'm going to recapture some of that. Next month, typically, the end of August, last week of August, and the 4 months of September are our best months of the entire year. All that value, all that momentum, all that goodwill in the community for all the things I've been doing, I'm confident.
And one more thing, guys, in terms of the e-learning concept, I know everybody's talking about how it's like temporary, only for a few weeks, and then they're going to go back to school. Some states have already announced it's going to be for the entire fall. So in the grand scheme of things,
school districts going backwards on it too, where they said we're not doing that malarkey, and now they're doing.
Well, so just to give you guys an idea, here in our county, it's digital learning until the end of this month, And then the first 2 weeks of September is going to be kindergarten through second grade. And then 2 weeks later is going to be third grade. 2 weeks later is going to be fourth grade. So they're staggering things in. However, based on what happened last week in some of the states and some of the schools that opened here in Georgia, I'm almost willing to bet that it's going to be digital learning for the entire fall semester. They've already canceled football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've already canceled football for colleges or some oh man, what is it called? Some conferences, right? And high school football is iffy. So this could be something that if you choose to start, you're not starting it for a week or two. I'm pretty sure this can go on until the end of the school year.
And you know what? Even if it is just for short term, I think you and I chatted about this back in like end of March, beginning of April, when we said if schools don't reopen for the last few months of the school year, it's going to be a huge fear metric and drive people away from everything else.
Yep.
If schools reopen, and I'm not saying they will, I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but if they reopen in 4 weeks and they do so well and they do so properly and there are no ramifications from it, that's actually a good thing. Yeah, it crashed your e-learning program, but the schools being open and cases remaining low, because regardless of what statistics are available, people are looking at the case count.
Mm-hmm.
If it all works out well, it's going to provide a ton of consumer confidence, which will allow your other programs that you would normally run to start thriving again. If schools open and they don't do it right, they have a lot of cases and they have to reclose, well, you already know how to pivot back right into your e-learning camps. So it works out for you.
Summer camp this year, we kept it really small. So we just, because of team and financials and everything, we kept it around 10 people. Okay. 6 of those people were our students already. 4 were brand new. We turned 2 out of the 4 into regular students, not e-learning, just regular students. So you start the e-learning, they fall in love with you.
Yep. In the end, it's not about anything that we're doing. Nothing that we do matters. The only thing that matters is what do they need right now? And that's what I want to provide. When it all comes down to it, the question is not, do I have to cancel a membership? Do I have to close my doors? It's, how do I convince more people to give me more money? And it's never about what we do. It's always about what they need. Just like we have to meet the child where they are to teach them, I got to meet the parents and my community where it is or where they are in order to convince them to give me their money.
Yep. And if football or baseball is open right now for the younger crowd, well, guess what? It won't be for a little while longer if things are going to flow the way it's expected to flow, I guess.
Yep. That's it.
So
stay focused on the right things. We talked about that last week.
Yep.
Stay focused on the right things. Be relentless moving forward. Find constantly new ways to provide more for your current students and to convince new people to come into new things that you're doing or existing things that you're doing. Don't be afraid to add new programs, but also don't throw money at problems that you don't have well thought out plans for. I think that about sums up what we're talking about today.
Yes.
All right. So if you guys need help with any of this, you know how to find us. Just proof in the pudding. John and I, while maybe we're not making the money we made last year, I'm going into this week will be my going into 6th month of being closed. We're still open and running as a business, so we can help. I'm not going to promise any miracles, but if you're not taking steps to do what you need to do, then we can't help.
And I'm going to give you the same advice that I give a lot of people. Don't look for help if you're not willing to be open-minded, if you're not willing to do 50% of the work. Does that make sense? Because it's a total waste of time on your end. I mean, we're willing to give you all the help that we can.
I will gladly come fix your school, but be ready to invest because it's not going to be $400 a month.
Absolutely.
I make a little more than that.
So if you're looking for help, be open-minded, be ready to do 50% of the work, at least 50% of the work, right? Otherwise, do me a favor. Don't just message me just because, right? Because then it's a waste of time on everybody's part. Open-minded, ready to go, ready to crank it. Let's go. We're there. We're going to put you in the right seat and for you to drive. For you to drive, not us driving. You're going to be driving.
We want to be the TomTom on the dashboard, just providing some direction information.
Doop, doop, doop. Wrong turn.
Rerouted. All right. So
Yeah.
now we're way over. Thank you, everybody, for spending the time with us. We learn just as much from our conversations with you guys as hopefully you do from us. So we're very thankful for your presence in our lives as well. You are valuable to us. So we will see everybody throughout the week here and there. And then for our Gold Lifetime members, Melody is back on Monday, and she's already got some good stuff cooking for you. So we will see you guys then.
Awesome sauce. Crush